I think the premise is entirely false. God is love, always has been love. Essence of who God is the quality of love. However, is love inconsistent with justice? The answer is absolutely no. So let me give you the hardest text in the New Testament. Jesus, I take it, is reflecting the character of God better than any human being did, sinlessly. All right, in Luke 19, those who didn't want Jesus to reign over them, what did Jesus say there? Well, that's fine. They're all good. No. Bring my enemies, this is Jesus speaking now, before me, in front of me, at his second coming, and slaughter the whole lot of them. I don't think you're getting many sermons on that. So it is false to say that anything goes in the New Testament, where in the Old Testament there was a vindictive God who punished people. Now, I fully grant that Moses was equipped with the sword. They had the sword to destroy adulterers, for rebellious children. Has that changed? No. If you persist in sin, you're still dead, ultimately. God is a God of vengeance. Vengeance is mine, I will repay. That's a New Testament text in Romans 13. The state at present exercises the sword. Christians should not be involved in that, I think, because we're not of that same system. However, at the second coming, if you've read the book of Revelation, which is 22 chapters of Jesus, not just John, John's the one who penned it, John the Apostle, Jesus spoke it. 22 chapters, plus 3 chapters of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John, who takes a slightly different angle, the same Jesus from a different angle. It's full of the most terrifying slaughter in the book of Revelation. So has God changed? No. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So is Jesus. It's just that God is not operating, not carrying out the justice part right now. And there's a proverb, or is it in Ecclesiastes, I forget which says, because God is not executing justice now, people continue in their sins. They do. But where he wiped out whole populations, this was to prevent them from corrupting the rest of the world, and he'll do it again. God is going to destroy, it says in the book of Revelation, those who are destroying the world. Watch out. So there's no change at all. God's modus operandi has changed to this extent that he's not executing that judgment right now. That's why people are so bad. However, he hasn't changed. His methods are just the same, and he will exterminate on a grand scale at the second coming, just as the days of Noah. Great tribulation is the worst time in the history of man. There's only one unique time of tribulation, just before the second coming. So we had better be alert. We Christians had better be watching, not predicting falsely a date that makes no sense at all, but we better be sure that we are doing well and urging others then to come to obedience, the obedience of faith, Hebrews 5, verse 9. So I don't think that's very difficult. People need to use the texts which do this so well, and they don't do it. Ask your pastor to preach on Hebrews 5:9. Salvation is given to those who obey Jesus. It's the same exactly as John 3:36. Everybody knows John 3:16, which is a fine summary, but very vague by itself. 3:36 says, if you obey Jesus, you're doing fine. If you don't believe in Jesus, which is the same as disobeying him in that parallel, John 3:36, the wrath of God is hanging over you. That's exactly the same in the Old Testament and the New. God has not changed. It's just that he's not executing that vengeful judgment right now. Have they forgotten? The book of Revelation says this over and over again. The enemies of Jesus are going to be destroyed big time.
At the second coming.
At the parousia. I'm going to use this word parousia because there's so much confusion about rapture and so on. The word rapture has been stolen now to mean a pre-tribulation rapture. No, let's talk about the parousia, the one single arrival of Jesus in power and glory to establish the kingdom, to immortalize the saints of all the ages, and to punish and destroy his enemies. There's a lady, Georgia Harkness, I'll name her, a lady theologian who said of that verse that you just had on screen, Jesus couldn't have said that. Well, I met somebody 2 weeks ago who said that the millennium shouldn't be in the Bible because it contradicts the verses about one single resurrection. Once you give up on the text of Scripture that you don't like, you have become God. That verse is there. Jesus said it quite clearly, and the book of Revelation confirms it entirely. What about 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 4, which says, or it's 2:8, sorry, I got the verse wrong. Let me repeat that. 2 Thessalonians 2:8 says that the man of sin, that's the Antichrist, the single Antichrist, the beast, king of the north, the little horn of Daniel 7, Daniel 8, is going to be destroyed by the brightness of the manifestation of his arrival, his parousia. I want to use that word all the time. Not presence, vaguely, as the Jehovah's Witnesses say, but arrival in power and glory, the arrival of the king to take over his territory. That lawless one is going to be destroyed. It means to kill, wiped out. So where's the gentle Jesus, meek and mild? Now, we had better learn to love our enemies now, absolutely. It says that we are to do good to those who treat us despitefully. We should return their fury and their anger with kindness. That's clear. But justice will yet be done for the unbeliever and the sinner of all types. So that's New Testament now. So I don't know what people mean by the Old Testament God being different. This is Jesus representing the one true God, but he's in vengeful mode. The wrath of the Lamb is a striking phrase, because a lamb is hardly a wrathful creature. So this is not his customary work. There's a verse, I've forgotten where exactly, which says it's not his usual modus operandi for God or Jesus to operate in this way. But the only thing that will get the world to listen to operate the Shema is massive threats of destruction, which will take place such that in Isaiah 24, when God is through with decimation, few people are going to be left. Isaiah 24, verse 6 or so, where the Seventh-day Adventist friends of ours, 23 million of them said, no, nobody will be left on the earth. That's false. Few people will be left. A massive depopulation of the world. How massive, I don't know. So we better be very careful that we are the few who enter, who strive, by the way. Agonizome in Greek means to strive, to struggle to enter by the narrow gate, so that we can be sure of our position in the kingdom to which we're being invited by the gospel of the kingdom.